Watauga Arts Council with your host, Cherry Johnson, serving arts in Watauga County for more than 30 years.
Hi, I'm Cherry Johnson with Watauga County Arts Council, and I want to reintroduce you to someone who's an icon in Watauga County.
I don't know if it'd be icon.
You are an icon.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
This is Gary Smith. Gary doesn't always dress up this pretty, though. I'm very impressed, Gary. You look great.
Yeah, well, you know, it's for TV.
It's for TV. You look wonderful.
Well, thank you.
You look like you thought this was really a big deal.
It is a big deal. I get to sit down here with you, and that's a big deal.
Oh, thank you.
You always have to. I always dress up for the ladies.
You do. I thought he was dressing up because he wanted to impress you with all the cool things he's doing this summer.
No, those in themselves will impress them.
That's true.
I don't need to dress up for that.
That's
so
true.
I just strictly dressed up for you.
Now, I'm really overwhelmed. Gary, you are in Blowing Rock, and right now you are performing at the school, right?
The auditorium on Sunset Drive, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, where we've been for the last 5 years.
Right. And although, we're hoping you can stay in our community, I know there's some concerns that you might not be able to.
Yeah, but as it looks right now and as it stands right now, I mean, I don't see us. I mean, we want to stay in Blowing Rock too, and that's where we're going to be at least for the next few years. That's for
Yay!
sure. So
good.
And it's all a matter of trying to find ourselves a space and things like that. But until that point, we'll keep doing what we're doing and working how we work and put on shows for people when we can put on shows.
That's wonderful. And you are kind of one of a kind in this region.
Well, I always like to think so.
Well, I wasn't just talking about Gary. I was talking about the theater.
You're talking about ensemble stage. Yes. Oh, okay.
The other thing.
Right, yeah, okay, yeah, okay, that.
So, but ensemble stage is unique because you're not a university or college-related theater. You're not basically a community theater.
No.
You know, you're something different. Describe ensemble stage's niche in this community.
Well, you're right. It's unique in the sense that in the summertime we are professional theater. We hire equity actors, that's the union for professional actors and stage managers, and we produce our own shows, and that's for our summer season. Then when we get into the fall and winter, we do kind of become a bit of more of a community-based theater. We do staged radio plays, which have gotten really popular. People love seeing that stuff done, and it gives an opportunity, especially for people to bring like their younger kids to actually get a piece of classic literature that's done in a fun way. I mean, we've done Dracula by Bram Stoker. We've done Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. And it's all within the guise of an hour-long radio play, done like they did back in the 40s, with sound effects all being done on stage. And so for people to see that and hear those sound effects being done, and it's always fun to see those things that are used for something else to give the sound of like the boat creaking. You have this great wooden basket that if you creak it, it sounds like the creaking of a boat. And then we have a big vat of water on the floor with this plunger type thing that makes it sound like the waves hitting the side of the boat. And so you put those two things together, and it's a lot of fun.
See, that's what I think the audience is seeing it like looking behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so they're really enjoying that aspect because they don't get that opportunity too often. So that's really, really cool. Now, those are very popular. You've done off and on a Christmas production.
Up until last year, because of our scheduling issues with the school, we've done yearly holiday musical variety show in the guise of the old Bing Crosby and Andy Williams type.
Those are cool.
They are, and we dress our ladies up in these beautiful ball gowns.
Men have the tuxes.
Men wear tuxedos.
It's elegant.
And choreography with their dancing and stuff like that. And And that show in itself is that's like an hour and 10 minutes long, but
right.
it's just a lot of fun and really fast paced, and you get a lot in that. So hopefully we'll be able to do that again next year, or this coming year.
But then in the summer, it's like a completely different thing.
Yeah, in the summer, I'll tell you what, I mean, I love what we do, and anytime we do it, but it's just a whole different thing when we get into the summer, when we start doing our professional shows and bringing in professional actors, and people don't realize the quality of actors that we get in, and a lot of it some of it has to do with where we're at, and some of it has to do with the relationships that Lisa Lamont, our managing director, and I have built up with actors over the course of the last 20 years or so.
I was going to ask you, where do you get your actors?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we still have auditions, and I have people come in and people audition, but every once in a while, like our very first show, when we did a reading of it, and that's how we pick our plays, is we do public readings, and everybody's invited. It's free. They can either read or they can just listen, but that's how we pick our plays. And we read the play that we ultimately picked for the first show, which is called The Love List. And when we read that, Lisa and I both turned to each other and said, we'll do this if we can get Laura Hodos here. And Laura Hodos is this wonderful actress. She's travels the world acting. She, as a matter of fact, I mean, it's amazing the stuff that she's done. I mean, she's a 3-time Carbonell Award nominee, which is the Tony Awards for Florida. A Gold Memorial Drama Prize and Florence Bauer Vocal Prize recipient. She's on stage all the time with the Orlando Philharmonic. She's done shows in all over the United States, including Japan, like at the Aslo, the American, Caldwell Theater, Barter Theater here, not too far away, Seaside Music Theater, the historic El Portal Theater in Los Angeles, and Tokyo Disney. And that's just a few of these things. And we're a small theater, and she is used to not only working but also getting paid by these bigger theaters
who have
tons more money. But because of the relationship we have with her, and like I said, I'm sure some of it has to do with here in the high country and being able to come here.
I think that's often the case.
But we got her in, and it's just it's a real treat and honor to have her be a part of our season. And it amps up everybody's game when we get people like that.
Sure.
And the great thing is we've got people like Laura in every one of our shows this summer.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and so I'm really excited. It's been the first year. This is our 6th year of doing shows. This is the first year that I've been able to cast my first choice in all my roles for all the shows.
Wow.
And that never happens. That never happens in theater.
Set a bar. You have to meet this every year, right?
I know. Well, that's not going to happen, because usually there's either somebody's already, because obviously your first choices are usually everybody else's first choices too. And whether it be because of the size of the contract, or that it will interfere with another show that are already booked for, or whatever. A lot of times I won't be able to get my first choice, or sometimes my second or third or fourth choice. But I don't think I think I've gotten my fourth choice whenever I've had to. I've never had to go below my fourth choice.
Right.
But this year it's been great. I'll call up my first choices, and it's always that trepidation of, oh, okay, I know you're busy, but let me tell you about this show I've got going on. And I think some of it has to do with, like I said, being here in Blowing Rock.
Yeah.
Number 2, the relationship that Lisa and I have built up with some of these people, and also the plays we've chosen this year. Because that really does, especially an actor that works a lot, they can really literally pick and choose what they want to do.
That's great.
Yeah, and so it's not like we're getting an actor in who is just
hungry.
Who's hungry, and because he can't get cast or she can't get cast in anything. And so it all kind of worked out where I would, because there was a couple of them that they said, well, I don't know. And I said, let me tell you about the show. And I would tell them about the show, and then they'd go, you know what, I think I could probably make that work. Hang on. And, and a couple of days later, they would call and say, yep, we're in.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So we're, like I said, we're real excited about our season. And also, Laura, and this is the first time it's not even on our website yet because I talked to Laura yesterday on the phone. She developed a show, a cabaret show, which is about an hour and a half long, and it's called, what is it called? Sorry, I usually don't have to have notes, but I'm getting old. So it's called Ethel Mary Julian Babs, and she does music of Ethel Merman, Mary Martin, Barbara Streisand, and Julie Andrews.
Oh, wow.
And like Laura is just an incredible singer. She does a lot of musical theater, but this is a show that she created about 7 years ago, and she's got costumes for all the stuff and everything. We're doing a special presentation of that show July 12th.
Wow.
Laura's here for 2 of our shows. She's doing The Love List, and then she's also doing Killing Time, which is our suspense thriller. And so, and during that time, she's going to do one night only of her show.
How wonderful!
Yeah. So
that's fantastic. So now let's back up just a hair. That's your first show she's in, right?
The first show is The Love List, which is a spicy Norm Foster comedy. And once again, I used to not have to have notes, but I have to have them now, as I have, especially this year, because we've got more stuff going on this year than we ever have this summer. But here's a little blurb on that, and it's about this guy, Bill, who's a perennial bachelor, and he decides to accept his friend's advice and hires an old gypsy woman to find him the perfect match. She has him create a list of top 10 best qualities in a mate. He does so, and suddenly this ideal woman shows up who acts like she has known this Bill guy all of his life, and he's freaking out a bit because he's never seen her before. She knows everything about him, and he's starting to realize she has all the qualities he wrote on this piece of paper. So, but to test his theory, he crosses it out and puts obscure things in there as a replacement quality to see if this is really what it is. And sure enough, turn on a dime. Suddenly, instead of him loving her friends, she hates his friends, and it's just it's very fun. It's very, I mean, it really has kind of a Lucille Ball feel to it, you know, but it's a lot of fun, and it's when we read the play, it's such a great vehicle for actors, and one of the other actors that are in it is Stephen Moore. He's been in a couple of our shows, but he's just this lovable teddy bear of a guy, wonderful actor out of Greensboro. And most people will remember Steve, even if they haven't been to our shows. There was probably about 3 years ago, there was this big to-do made about this Jeff Gordon commercial where he, quote unquote, punked this car dealer, this car salesman, had him get, Jeff Gordon got all in disguise and got into this car and wanted to take it for a test drive, and then he drove like Jeff Gordon can drive, and the salesman's going nuts and hanging on to things. Well, that was Steve. It wasn't really a car salesman, it was actually Steve, but yeah, it made it onto national news and stuff. But yeah, so that was Steve. So even if you haven't seen him, you've seen him. Yeah, and so he's going to make a great pair off of Laura for that with The Love List. And like I said, it's a fun, spicy, modern comedy.
That's great.
And then we go shift gears completely into this show called Killing Time, which is a suspense thriller. And I love our suspense thrillers. I love directing them, and I love finding those ones that really keep you guessing as an audience what's going on. And this is a perfect example of that. It's a 2-character play. And we have Laura, who's playing the female in the show, and the other person is Mark Colbinson, who is a professional actor out of Jacksonville, Florida. He's done a lot of stuff across the country. He came up here and auditioned, and I was very impressed with him, and he was my first choice, but I was almost afraid to call him because I knew that based on his resume that we weren't going to be able to match what he's used to getting paid.
Right.
But I got a call from him. Now, he's one of those that, because of where we're at, that made it happen, because he called me up and he said, look, I hope you enjoyed my audition for you. If you are considering me, I would love to come up there. I stayed up there for 3 days to come do your auditions, and there's just such beautiful area up there. I'd love to spend 4 weeks up there and do a show for you.
That's fantastic.
And so it's like, yep, you were my first choice anyway. So yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, I want you.
Make me beg you.
But and Killing Time is this, like I said, this wonderful thing. It's a quote unquote chance meeting between a man and woman outside of a store. Her car's broke down, or she can't find her keys, and so he said, well, she can come over to his place and make a phone call, and gets there, and you start realizing that everything seemed to be planned, but you don't know if he planned it or if she planned it. To have this happen and have this meeting and have this moment in time together there, because he has a history with her husband, and she knows the history of her husband with him, but and so you're trying to figure out who planned this. Did he? I mean, and because it's, like I said, it's a suspense thriller, and so they both have this end game they're wanting to get to, a revenge kind of thing, but you don't know who started it and who planned it, because it feels like either one of them could have planned this thing.
Wow.
And they both are, they take turns being the predator and being the prey. In this, it's a wonderful script. It is. It's a great script, and like I said, I always love doing our suspense thrillers, and we have a really good reputation now with our suspense thrillers. That we get people in. A couple of years ago, we did Mind Game, which was that movie Shutter Island that Johnny Depp was in. That was based on Mind Game, but we do really cool suspense thrillers. Then after that, we have our third show, which is, now this is something that we don't normally do. We're doing a Neil Simon, which is unusual for us. One of the things that our audience and our patrons have always liked, we have a lot of patrons that are snowbirds, and they go to the theater a lot down in Florida. And one of the things they've all said they like about our theater is that they can count on us not doing things that they've seen before.
Right.
Because we really scour and dig with our play readings and find wonderful plays, but they're not your normal plays that you see on every stage across the country. This is a Neil Simon, but it's one that isn't done quite as often, and I don't know why, because actually it's one of my favorite, and it's called I Ought to Be in Pictures. So it's this very heartwarming comedy about this father who has gone off to Hollywood to become a screenwriter, basically abandoning his wife and daughter back in Pennsylvania, and the daughter, as she grows up, decides that she wants to reconnect with him, and she knows, because he's so focused on the screenwriting thing, she wants to be in pictures. She wants to be in the movies, and that's her in to get in. And of course, there's conflict. And if the thing about Neil Simon is a lot of his stuff is very much like each other, right? But it works as a formula, and so if you like Neil Simon, you'll love this, because it's very much it's very you can sense it's Neil Simon, right? He's got a rhythm to his words too, and it still has all of that, and like I said, it's a very heartwarming little comedy. And then our fourth show, which is, I'll tell you what, if this show isn't done at every theater across the country in the next few years, they're crazy. It's Ears on a Beetle. And this is,
love the sound.
Ears on a Beetle. But what's great about it is it's a fact-based show. Back in 1972, it was going to be the first election year for 18-year-olds. Richard Nixon was freaked out about the fact that 18-year-olds were going to be able to vote, and they might vote him out of office because of different young influences across the country. And him and J. Edgar Hoover decided that the biggest influence on that age group at that time was John Lennon. So they, and this, like I said, this is a true story. They started conducting surveillance on John Lennon. They infiltrated John Lennon's camp, you know, as it were, to try and dig up information that would be strong enough to have John Lennon deported before the election for 1972.
Well, and the obvious premise is that they knew John Lennon did not appreciate.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it's also got, when you read through it, it's funny now because you sit there and you go, how ridiculous was that? But it follows two FBI agents. One is an older agent who's kind of been around the block. The other one is this younger guy who they had brought in straight fresh out of the academy because he was young enough and had that look that he could probably get into John Lennon's camp. And it follows their relationship throughout the course of this. And like I said, it's very interesting. It's very fact-based.
It's also a bit frightening.
It is. It is.
You know?
And it kind of, I mean, it really, a lot of the stuff in the play that's set in 1972 really kind of rings true with what's going on now, too.
Exactly, yeah. It kind of makes you wonder what else is going on that we don't know about. You know?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But those are our 4 professional plays that we've got going on our main stage. And this is something that I'm very proud of. And, you know, if you don't come see any other show, this next show I'm going to talk about is what people need to come see. And we've already started rehearsal for it. It's And a Child Shall Lead. And that is a true story based on 8 children in Terezin concentration camp during World War II.
Yeah.
And when I cast that, like I said, we're already in rehearsals because the whole show it's just got 8 kids in it. It has no adults.
Wow.
But it's certainly not a kids show. And the youngest character in the play is 6 years old.
Wow.
The oldest is 17 of these 8 kids. And when I cast that, I not only had to cast the kids, but I also had to cast the parents because I needed the parents needed to understand that the kids that I cast were going to have to know
the real story.
The real story of what happened.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to see pictures. They're going to have to see film. So they can understand where their characters are coming from.
Wow.
And do their characters an honor and justice in presenting the story. And Terezin was a very unique kind of place. It was where the Nazis used as their propaganda place. They called it the Nazis called it they said they gave this town to the Jews. That Terezin is a town and they have their own mayor and it gives them a nice quiet place to live out the years of the war and not be bothered by it, and everybody's happy, and they would bring the Red Cross in to tour, and it was all a front. Whenever they'd bring in the Red Cross, they would have a mayor who was a Jew, and his chauffeur was an SS officer. And so, you know, if you wanted to live, you did what they told them.
Yeah.
Or what they told you to do. And they would bring in these merry-go-rounds on those days of the circus, or that the Nazis would, or the Red Cross would come in, and they would pick out the certain kids, and they had their own little core group of the Jews that they fed well, that they clothed well, and anytime the Red Cross came, everybody else was you know, held in their barracks at gunpoint and not allowed to come out, and only this certain group who had
the actors.
But yeah, basically, yeah. And I mean, they're acting for their life too.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is kind of the story of 8 kids who weren't those actors. and they see their teacher get killed because she's coming to teach them. They're still trying to hold school, even though the Nazis didn't want them to do it. But a lady was secretly teaching them. Well, the Nazis found out about it, and on her way to come teach the kids, they machine gunned her. And the kids decided, you know what, we're still going to have school. We're going to honor her. We're going to have school. I know about science. I'll teach science. You know about art. You teach art. And so these kids made themselves be kids and have school. They made themselves be kids by, they would play hide and go seek. They also, but the great thing about it is that these kids, they created, and once again, this is a true story. They created an underground newspaper, and these are young kids.
Wow.
They created an underground newspaper for Terezin called Videm, and it was called the Videm Report. And whether anybody saw it or not, they did this, and so future generations would know what really happened there.
Wow.
And this Videm Report had, it gave the information about how they were really being treated, and not only them as the kids, but as the other people who were there. And Terezin was a kind of a halfway or holding point when they would pick up the Jews from the ghettos. If Auschwitz or Dachau were backlogged in the extermination, they would take them to Terezin and hold them there until they had room, and then they would take them from Terezin to Dachau or Auschwitz. And these kids knew that. It wasn't like they were blindly going about playing. Every time that train whistle blew, they just froze in their tracks.
Wow.
And then they would look the Nazis would put up a list of who was to be on the train. And like I said, it's a show that only has kids in it, but it certainly isn't a kids show.
Jeez.
And in the end, only one of these kids in this show survives.
Wow.
And so it's the 70th anniversary of the liberation of the concentration camps. And we're reaching that point in our history, in the world's history, that the people who actually experience that are getting fewer and fewer.
Right.
And we have to keep that story up front.
Right.
It can't be brushed aside as ancient history. And so it's something that I am extremely proud of. And these kids that we're doing, I mean, if you'd like us on Facebook, I usually put little reports up there about how rehearsals are going and things like that with the kids. I put up the Mike Helms, who is our set designer, not only for that show, but he's also designing all of our summer shows. And you've probably, anybody up here has seen his work if they've seen an ASU show, those wonderful sets that they have at Farthing, and at Farthing.
No, not Farthing anymore.
No, I'm sorry. What's Valborg? Valborg. If you've seen those wonderful sets at Valborg, he designs those sets for them usually, but he's our set designer. But like I said, I've got his rendering of this set on there, and it's wonderfully stark, and when you think of it in terms of, I mean, it looks like two little barracks areas, and then in the background you've got this wall with barbed wire, and I mean, you feel like you're in this camp. And but anyways, we've got I update people with how that's going, and we needed to start rehearsal on that very early because of the age of the kids.
So that means they're local kids.
Oh yeah. But they all just don't go to one school.
Right.
And really there is a lot of talent out there, and the biggest thing for me with those kids was making them understand that, I mean, this is a show that none of them have ever, quite a few of them have done theater before, but it's never been this kind of theater.
Intense.
Yeah. And real and true and honest. And to get them away from playing and acting on that stage and just being in that moment and understanding and really feeling the emotions that these kids that are portraying felt. You know, they're portraying real people that died, and those people deserve the respect and honor to be justly done. And we have fun in rehearsals, we do, but the kids really have gotten good about on break. They let all their, they have fun, and and we have to take breaks because the subject matter and the script itself, if we just kept going and going and going and pushing these kids to that point, which I do in rehearsals, but if we don't have those little breaks, they would just be curled up in a ball in a corner. I mean, that's how intense this story is. But these kids are doing a great job of honoring these people who they're portraying. And like I said, if you see nothing else, come see this because it's going to be one heck of a show.
Wow. Now, you mentioned coming and seeing things. You can get season tickets, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah. We've got season tickets for our summer season, which was those 4 shows that I told you about. And I'm telling you what, you cannot beat that deal. For $65 for a senior or military personnel, you get to see 4 shows. 4 professional shows with professional actors for $65.
And if you're not a senior or
if you're not a senior or military, it's $73 for an adult.
For 4 shows.
For 4 shows.
Yeah.
You can't beat that.
That's right.
Individual tickets for each one of these shows also. $21 for adults, $19 for seniors and military. Some of the shows that we have kids tickets for, it's $11 for kids. And so, like I said, if you'll save about 13% if you get our season tickets.
Right.
And plus premium reserve seating for our season ticket holders, and it's going to be a really great season.
It does sound like a fantastic season. Yeah. And I know that you're also doing this summer a camp for kids, and it's going to be in July, right before our summer camp, one of our summer camps.
Right.
You're doing the second week in July.
Right. We're doing July 6th through the 10th, I think is what it is.
And then we take up the next week.
Yeah, it's called Enchanted Theater, being taught by Natasha Braswell, which a lot of people up here probably know her. Right. But she's teaching our younger kids camp. A couple of things that we love about our camps and how we do them is, for her camp, we only take 12 people. We don't allow it to turn into 40 and 50 kids that get lost in the shuffle, whatever. And also, in our camp, the kids create their own show. Right. Which I just love. So many times, and the kind of same thing goes with And a Child Shall Lead, so many times I think adults don't give kids enough credit. And
I agree with you.
And I'll tell you what, there's so much creativity, so much talent in kids. If they're steered in that right direction and given that opportunity, they will, they 9 times out of 10 shine through. And that's why with like I said, with our camp, the kids create their show. Yeah. We give them that responsibility, and yes, we guide them through it, and we work on things, and it all kind of starts out with a topic or a subject that we have them improv, and that improv may take, their first improv that they do may be 15 seconds. And before everything's said and done, we have created a scripted play from these improvs that is 15 or 20 minutes long. Wow. Yeah, and it's like I was telling, we did radio earlier. It's like I was saying, I've yet to have one kid complain because they didn't have enough lines.
It's their fault.
Because they wrote the play. They're writing the play, so if you don't have enough lines, give yourself a line.
Gotcha. Now, if they want to enroll their children, folks out there, how do they do that?
whether they want to buy tickets or enroll the kids, they could do it online.
So you have all that online.
All that's online, and or you can, and that's at our website at ensemblestage.com, or they can give us a call at 828-414-1844, and we can handle it that way.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. And your camp happens where?
At the school school auditorium.
Bulldog School Auditorium. That works.
Yeah, my schedule this year is, I looked and I have a day in August, about the third week of August, that I'm not at the auditorium or in rehearsal for a total of 10 or 12 hours a day. I got one day in August that
so you're going to sleep.
So I'm going to sleep that day. Yeah. But it's worth it because it's going to be a great season.
It really is, and I'm really excited for you. It's going to be a fantastic season. Yeah. I'm very impressed.
Well, thank you.
So you guys blow me away anyway. But they're going to be doing some great stuff, not just this summer. Just hang on. We'll talk about the fall later on.
That's right.
And there's a lot of cool stuff going on there too. You guys just keep action happening all the time. We were saying that you're kind of unique in the high country because that you're not university, you're not community theater,
right?
You're professional theater. But then
I like to say professional with a twist.
Right. But then in the fall you sort of merge it a little bit and become a little bit more community.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
And I think that the great thing about that is too, and I mean, community theater is wonderful, and the fact that we do it. That we do shows in the fall and the winter that are more community based, but I don't approach those shows any differently than I do my professional shows. I think part of that experience in community theater should be really understanding the process on a professional level.
Right.
And I expect every bit as much out of my shows that I do that are community-based as I do my professional shows.
Right.
Simply because it's a community-based show, I don't sit there and go, well, it's community. No. Once again, most people, when pushed and when you're honest with them and you can steer them properly, will surprise themselves and their friends and things like that, and because I rarely let them take an easy out. I rarely let them be a stereotype on that stage, or use. I always call it the universal signs. If you're frustrated, that we don't do that in real life. So why do you do it on the stage?
Exactly.
So it like I said, it is a community-based theater there in the fall and the winter, but it's professional driven.
Well, and it's also community-based in another way that I want to bring back up. You've mentioned a couple of times reading plays. One of our board members, Pat Moritz, and her husband Mike, read plays with you guys.
Yeah.
And then I don't know how they got started in that. I don't know is that an opportunity that's open to folks that want to come participate? I think it's a really cool way to be involved with theater, to come in and help read plays to help determine what plays get chosen.
And I'll tell you the biggest reason we started doing that was Lisa and I, frankly, if we won the lottery, ticket prices would be zero. We think. And we understand, not just think, but we understand the importance that theater has in a community,
right?
And helping a community grow. And but the problem is that there's people out there that, and I understand that if you've got to choose between bread and going to a show,
you got to eat.
You got to choose the bread. But so we started this play reading thing as a way to, if you don't have any money, you could still be a part of the theater process. You could still do things, and that's why we do our play readings usually about once, sometimes twice a week.
And this is a dramatic reading. It's where that you're reading the parts.
Yeah, well, yeah. I wouldn't call it a dramatic reading.
That's true.
But it gives me the opportunity to hear the plays out loud.
Yes.
And because the way my mind works, and and things. I could read something,
but it doesn't.
But I can't disconnect and give my visuals that I need as a director in the decision of, okay, do we do this or not? There's things I would miss. So we do these so I can hear the plays out loud. And so, and you don't have to be a reader either. You could come and just listen.
Right.
I know Mike, like you're talking about, he's not a big fan of the reading. He will when we have nobody else, but he's one of those that likes to sit back and just listen. And it's great to have sounding boards. And there's been plays that I've went ahead and selected because of the response in the play reading. And my response would sometimes be that minority, where I would think, I just don't see it. But if I've got 7 other people who heard the same play read as I did,
who got excited,
about it, that says something. So it does carry weight with us, and it does help us decide. And so that makes you, for absolutely nothing, you could either read a part in one of these plays, or you could just sit back and listen to the plays.
Cool. That's really cool.
And be a part of that process of what's going on that stage.
And when does that happen?
We usually start those shortly after our Christmas show. So we usually start those about the second week of January.
Right.
And we go through usually about the middle of March. Hopefully we've been able to go through enough plays and find them by the middle of March that we can go ahead and announce our season and that kind of stuff. But we probably go through, in that amount of time, we go through between 30 and 50 plays.
Wow.
I mean, it takes that many to find,
of course,
to find the good ones.
And then you and Lisa have already filtered through to get those.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, and that doesn't even count with what me and Lisa do. And our parameters based on our budgets and our stage also eliminate some shows.
Absolutely.
Because we certainly can't afford to do. We're very, very aware of our budget.
Right.
And which I think is a thing that a lot of theaters seem to disregard. That a lot of theaters have had the tendency to, this is our budget, and we're going to spend that money. The way Lisa and I look at it is, this is our budget, but your budget is based on what you anticipate donations and things like that will be. If that changes, or if that's less than then you need to adjust your budget.
Right.
I mean, I'm real proud of the fact that, we're a professional theater up here in a small market that started at the height of the recession in 2009, and we have never been in the red. We've always been in the black, and especially when you consider the fact that, our ticket prices aren't outrageous, but we adjust our budgets so we can
match
stay.
What you have coming in.
Exactly, and theater.
How logical is that?
Yeah, and theater, and the great thing about theater is it doesn't have to be fancy.
Right.
And sometimes I think theaters give too much to an audience.
Right.
It's that ability to also use your imagination. You can give them a sense of where they're at and what they're doing and where they're going. But you don't have to put everything out on the plate.
Because that's part of the acting.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if you've got good actors, and even if you've got a representational set, there's nothing wrong with that audience.
Wow.
Seeing that in their minds,
That's cool.
their imaginations.
That's cool.
We try as best we can also to make it environmental. If we're doing a play that's set in an Italian home and Mama's cooking pasta, we try to make it to where you can smell that garlic.
I was going to say, you got somebody cooking backstage.
We do. We do.
Oh, that's wild.
And so it really is.
That's neat.
It's a neat experience.
That's neat.
we're real excited about.
So to recap some of the opportunities for folks, besides the obvious of you want to buy a season ticket and you want to be at all these productions,
right?
They also can get involved in reading the plays. They also can get involved in the fall seasons when that happens.
Right.
You know, there's ways for that.
Right.
They can volunteer with you, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. We always have the need for ushers or to help strike a set, that kind of stuff, and also
donate.
And absolutely they can. Absolutely.
Let's don't pass that one up.
Yeah, but also, you know, we do hire even for our professional shows. We've hired some local people that gave very good auditions and kind of had that fit that mold. But so don't hesitate to come on audition. The big thing to remember though is it is professional theater, and most people that are in the community and come on audition have jobs.
Right.
Well, their job's not going to let them take off 8 hours a day, 5 days a week to come to rehearsal because that's what you would be doing.
Yeah.
It is a job, and
So you have to be aware of what you're walking into.
It's not a pastime and not a hobby. It's a job.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, and we left off one other way people get involved, and that's their children in the summer camp.
Yes. Yep. Kids in the summer camp too.
So much going on with you guys.
I'm telling you. Yeah. Yep.
Well, we're excited that you're in the community. We're excited you're going to be in there in the community for a good while. That's important. We didn't want to lose you, and we're so delighted that's.
We're excited about that too. Yeah.
And so I'll be bringing Gary back. We'll have more things that are going on as things happen.
You're going to have to wear a tie again.
Right. Okay. Yeah, we're going to see what his tie wardrobe looks like. So,
great.
Well, we'll have to do the, you know, he got teased this morning for looking like Alfred Hitchcock. So we're going to have to come up with another character that you can be next time.
Oh, by the time I get here, I'll probably have lost 20 pounds because of the work I do. I gained 20 or 30 over the winter.
Sitting around reading plays.
Sitting around reading plays, and then I'm building sets and stuff like that, so yeah.
Okay, you want to go to ensemblestage.com.
Ensemblestage.com, or like I said, call us at 828-414-1844.
And if you want to learn more about what the Arts Council is doing, check watauga-arts.org. And thank you for joining us.
Watauga Arts Council with your host, Cherry Johnson, serving arts in Watauga County for more than 30 years.